The story of the first enlargement of the European Economic Community, as it was then called, begins long before Denmark, Ireland and Britain joined. Negotiations began 12 years earlier, in 1961, but Britain's application then, and another in 1967, were vetoed by French President Charles de Gaulle, who feared American influence and, it's said, English becoming the dominant language. The no to Britain meant the bids by Denmark and Ireland were also unsuccessful.
It was Judge Pompidou who indicated in '68 that he wouldn't block the UK and Ireland, and of course we have benefited greatly as a result of our membership of the EU, and I believe that we have contributed greatly.
All the applicant countries had their Eurosceptics. In Denmark, one contemporary anti-membership campaigner later came to change her mind.
Especially in the 90s, I was one of those people leading the campaign in favor of EU. And really, I was also able to describe it for my party fellow that this is a project for the heroines, you know. It's not what can we get, what can we offer, what can we participate.
On the 22nd of January 1972 in Brussels, the four candidate countries signed the treaties. The Netherlands, Belgium, France, Germany, Luxembourg and Italy had already formed the European Coal and Steel Community, which became the EEC. Britain had long wanted to join, and its ties with Ireland meant they must join together. The first Scandinavian applicants were Denmark and Norway, whose Prime Minister also signed the treaties before a referendum there came out against membership and Norway withdrew its application. Membership fundamentally transformed the three countries which joined, bringing prosperity and change, which for Ireland was the rainbow's end.
We were largely an agricultural economy. Now we have a pharmaceutical industry, a financial services sector, an IT industry. We have a burgeoning food export industry, not just agricultural product, but a specific type of food product which is well marketed. So the economy is really well diversified.
Britain had the biggest economy together with close transatlantic ties. It was always bound to affect the workings of the community, but it also answered a need many in the UK hadn't realised existed.
At that particular moment, it was necessary for Britain to make a very difficult decision as to whether it was going to be part of a wider club, a wider sort of entity, as it were, of Europeans, or whether it was actually going to draw into itself and try to maintain some kind of status as a former leader of an empire or indeed just of the Commonwealth.
2 years after Britain joined, the new Labour government organised Britain's first ever national referendum on membership. It broke the tribal tendency of always voting for a particular party.
1975, you had leading Conservatives with leading Labour people on the no side, leading Labour people with leading Conservatives on the yes side, and people actually had to sit down and decide what is the right thing for the country.
The British people, in clear and unmistakable terms, have made their historic decision that Britain shall remain a member of the European community.
For the then Prime Minister Edward Heath, membership was the fulfilment of a long ambition. At the Edinburgh Summit in 1992, though, he admitted to some disappointment, especially following the success of the first summit in 1972, just before the three new countries joined.
There were no differences between us on anything, common currency included. And then, of course, we lost our momentum in the middle of the 70s, very largely because of the Middle East war and because of the oil price increases. And we tried to solve these economic problems, each one of us individually, and it didn't work. And then, in the beginning of the 80s, people realized we could only solve them as a community together. Now, we mustn't make the same mistake again.
Politicians come and go, but they're doomed sometimes to repeat the errors of the past when times get tough, it seems. But from 6 to 9 to 27, with more to come, that's progress of which even Sir Edward Heath might have approved.